I'm Nathan Knabb, professor of saxophone at Stephen F. Austin State University.
I'm Kim Coluevano, professor of clarinet at the University of North Texas. And we're going to discuss some articulation style. And the point about articulation is that there are sort of 2 points on the continuum, right? Legato articulation and staccato articulation. And really, all musical style is going to dictate something between those 2 extremes, right?
Right.
So
a legato articulation is a very, very light, very connected style of tonguing. And in order to do this on saxophone or on clarinet, we want to use as little tongue as possible in order to touch the reed, in order to break the sound. In order to model the articulation, we really want to think almost about a Lee sound. So that's not what we do here, but that's what we want to hear.
So basically, I think it's fair to say for legato articulation, the tongue is almost always off the reed.
Right.
And it only goes to create the articulation a brief second on the reed and just returns back to the original position, right?
So the tongue spends very little time on the reed, and very little of the tongue is touching the reed.
Mostly off the reed.
Right.
Great.
So I'll kind of show you what legato sounds like on the saxophone.
Super connected, really even.
Right.
Good job.
Right, hey, thanks. And then what about staccato for you?
Okay, so how about we say the premise is if legato means that our tongue is mostly off the reed and just goes to touch, right? Staccato is the opposite, right?
Right.
Our tongue needs to be on the reed to prevent the reed from vibrating. Although the air is always moving,
Right.
And then it only moves off the reed for a brief period of time and then returns to the reed to stop the reed from vibrating, to stop the sound, as it were.
Sure, so if a legato is a very connected articulation, staccato is a very detached articulation.
Lots of space between the notes. Legato, not very much space between the notes. Staccato, lots of space between the notes.
Right. And so can you demonstrate a staccato for us on clarinet?
Sure.
Yeah, and so do we have any exercises that you use to help with staccato on clarinet?
Well, I found that students actually have a hard time making the air independent than the tongue, right? So they don't like to keep the tongue on the reed while keeping the air moving.
Do you find that they'll oftentimes, in order for each staccato note, give a separate air stream?
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what happens. So the sort of procedure I go through, I wouldn't call it an exercise, but a procedure, is first to get them to understand that they can keep the air moving and put the tongue on the reed. So it sounds, what I'm gonna do, I'll play sound, put my tongue on the reed, tongue off the reed, on the reed, off the reed, and you'll hear sort of distortion in the sound. That's when you're gonna know my tongue's on the reed.
Right, so I can show maybe.
Okay, you show and I'll play.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So then the next step of the development is now put the tongue on the reed with a little bit more pressure. So you're not stopping the air, but you're not hearing the sound anymore either. Okay. You want to be my demonstrator?
Sure.
Okay.
Right. The air is still energized from the source, but we're stopping it with the tongue.
Exactly. We're just stopping the reed from vibrating. So I think that's the basic principles. If students can really understand and execute staccato, execute legato, everything's going to be something in between.
Right.